So Doug, you're a brand strategist here at Threepipe, and we are going to be discussing how brands can approach peak season from a creative point of view. And, without a doubt, creative is becoming so important to our paid media strategy here at Threepipe. I think you've got a graph that is in our deck that might be useful to quickly look at and talk through.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I think I'll just start with that, a little visual element. Little visual element for the to start off with. So I think I just wanted to talk about sort of creative right up at the beginning and its importance within campaigns. So you'll see through multiple research studies from big names, from people like Nielsen, Harvard Business Review, ComScore, that they're putting down to campaign effectiveness creative as the largest element. Now we're looking at, it's interesting that they're quite similar. We've got 47%, 49%, 50%. But I think even if you don't quite believe it's as much as that, let's say you believe it's only 25%, that's still a really, really important component of the mix of the campaign to get right. So when we think about creative, and I've got some sort of 5 top tips, and I think the first one probably is, start that creative process early. There are times, especially during peak season, where with clients 2 days before we need to launch, for no necessarily bad reason, there are sort of reasons beyond their control, we get a brief in to try and do something, and that's fine. We'll always try and help, but the earlier we have to start, the better the creative, the more impact we can have with it, and also the more time we have to sort of test concepts, test imagery, test messaging, make sure that we're really focusing in on what works and using the data effectively. And I think we've seen in sort of previous videos and in that insights deck that media is going to be really expensive at this time of year, and also coupled with that, there's going to be lots of brands fighting for people's attention. I mean, I think at best you're going to get a couple seconds of people's attention. We see often the same creative treatment over again, that Black Friday treatment that everyone knows so well, and that ability to stand out and getting real bang for your buck from your creative is more important than ever, I would say.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think media spends are not going to go as far as they used to do, because as you say, we've got inflation with peak season coupled with a World Cup happening at the same time. So you've got that double challenge, I guess, of cutting through all that noise, but also your creative really needs to work. So it's harder than ever before because the media cost is so high.
Absolutely, yeah. Big media costs, World Cup, and lots of brands in the mix. So, really got to make that creative work for you.
And I think one of the classic things that, that has historically been experienced is, a one-size-fits-all treatment does not work. Our media plans are much more diverse than they were even 12 months ago, with new channels coming on board and a lot more testing. So, and each of these platforms has a different creative need.
Absolutely, and I think if we zoom out on the general Black Friday treatment, I think one of the key elements of creative is being distinctive. Not blending into everyone else's creative. So from an initial point of view, you've got to make sure that you're using your brand elements, that your brand elements are distinctive, they stick out, and that you're working with the media platform that you're choosing. The channel that is being used and being recommended by the media guys. They all have their own formats. What works on digital out of home or YouTube just won't work on TikTok. It's a completely different platform. It's got a completely different audience. Different formats. People go there for different needs as well. If you look at Twitter, people are going there for news and sport. TikTok, people are going there for interesting videos, sort of irreverent content, authentic native content. So really working with different formats and different media channels is key. I think one thing we have seen a bit of a rise more from a brand perspective than a performance perspective is the use of connected TV and YouTube, which is really great because you can target YouTube, people watching YouTube on their actual TV. So you're getting that TV ad experience for a fraction of the cost on a CPM. Digital out of home looks like it's going to be a much cheaper option, and that's great. That's a much more immersive format than sometimes digital is. Obviously, you don't get quite the same data, and there are trade-offs accordingly. But yeah, you really have to work with the channel and the audience that the media guys are recommending, and making sure the creative works across everywhere.
Despite the fact that every channels different, it needs a format, you still need a consistency of the brand across those channels. They can't be a completely different experience. They need to join up to some extent, don't they?
Absolutely. So we talk about something like flexible consistency, which sounds like an oxymoron completely. But the idea is, there are certain elements which need to be consistent, and there are certain elements which can be flexible. So the consistent elements are your distinctive brand assets. So your logos, your typeface, your tone of voice, any brand characters you have, any kind of overall feel you have to your brand, so that people can recognize you immediately. I think it's something like only 16% of ads get correctly attributed to the actual brand who's advertising. And a lot of that is just, and the designers will kill me for saying this, but our designers are very good, is that seeing as an ad too much as a piece of art sometimes. You really need to make sure you're getting in those brand cues, 3 to 5 of them, so that people can recognize you. If they can't recognize your ad, you've already failed the first test of the ad itself. So making sure you have, your logo, a typeface, your tone of voice is on cue. Maybe you have some brand shapes, whatever it is in your brand that are the famous elements, they need to be in there to make sure that you're getting that recognizable, and that helps bring in the consistency. The more kind of flexible elements, what the content, what the image is, what the messaging is, to a degree, what the concept is, those are great territories for A/B testing your creative. So, different brands will have different budgets and timescales, but the more time you have, the more you can A/B test different things and slowly go from a general point of view, focusing down until you get some really specific insight onto what's working. Especially, if you start early around key moments before Christmas, like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you can make sure the creative is well optimized.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Doug. That's been really helpful. We have made available our peak season planning insights, which include creative as well as tips across other channels as well. And you can find that link to that piece of research in the notes below us. So thanks, Doug. Really appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.